Hi guys, Lindsay here with Storybook Family Farm. So today I actually was able to conquer some of the fencing job. I wasn't able to do all of it simply because, well, I ran out of gas on myself, but also because I ran out of fencing. So I did continue on. This was where I started at. This was already here. This was where the grape arbor was and stuff that we put in a few months back. But so I started here and I had to add in all these T-posts and went to that corner there. I did end up doing a little bit of damage to the elderberries, but not much. It's just like over in here, like there's some little bits of scrapes on there. So I might end up adding some tar, like putting some black tar stuff if I can find where we put it. I'll probably put some black tar on there just so that way it doesn't harm the plant. Chances are the elderberries are pretty resilient and pretty tough plants, especially when they're in their like natural habitat. And these are, to my knowledge, these are wild elderberries. I didn't plant them here. I don't know if previous owners did. Previous owners a long time ago, they did plant that pear tree, which I have been working on trying to prune it back some, just because it's been neglected for a very long time. So I'm not sure if these are actually wild elderberries or if they're like a known cultivar, but for me, they're unknown. But so I did end up choosing to put some of the elderberries on the outside of the fence simply because where the ditch is over here, which you can see there's quite a lot of water still running through here, it drops off pretty steeply, not very far over, and I really didn't want to have to be messing with over in there and risk falling into the ditch or getting wet or putting a fence up there and it just falling over, just because it is very wet. We have a spring way up that way. It's actually, you can't see it because the house is in the way, but right by where my finger's at, there's actually like a little clubhouse thing over there. It's on stilts, but right behind that there's a spring, and the spring ends up running down into the ditch. So this ditch is always wet, because our spring does run year round, which is very super nice, but it does pretty much perpetually always stay wet in this ditch here. And then the neighbors up above us, they have a few springs too that also run into the ditch. So this area is very wet all of the time. We have more problems with dealing with too much moisture than dealing with too little, which has been nice for when there is droughts, because of the fact that it does make it so we don't have to worry too super much about things drying out too much and that sort of a thing, especially because the spring runs year round. So we are able to, our well's right by there as well, so our well is a spring fed well. At least I assume that it is. It's a very shallow well, so chances are it's a spring fed well. But so we are able to actually pull water out of the spring to help with watering the garden and that sort of a thing. Whenever there was the really bad drought, it never dried up, which is really nice to know. But so I did come alongside over here, and so the fence line here is just a couple feet from the property line. But it was really a doozy to try to get the fence around the elderberry here, because it's hard to see on camera, but here's the fence, and then here's the elderberry here. It was kind of a doozy to try to fish it through all of that, especially with doing this by myself. And also with doing this by myself, this field fencing that I got from my grandfather, which comically, it is his birthday today, so that's kind of weird. He passed away a couple years, or about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago. But so this was something that was left over from his farm that I ended up getting as a gift. But so this is a field fencing, and it is extremely heavy, so I ended up having to keep cutting it into different sections, like 30 and 40 foot sections, just so I could work with it to be able to put it up on the posts and stuff. But I did end up moving a bunch of the T-posts. So they were, in yesterday's video, they were about right over in here, and there was a line over here, but I decided that I really would much rather have them be closer to the property line. And also, they were not in a very straight line. We had charged our teenage son, Willie, we had put him in charge of putting the T-posts in, and he had done some crazy lining and stuff, so I ended up redoing that today, just so then that way it was a better, ooh, I almost tripped over a branch, a better, more seamless straight line that, is closer to the property line. But so I only got to right here. This is the end of the fencing because I ran out. And we do have some of the, it's like non-climbing fencing. We use it for our goats. We do have a bunch of that, but when I measured out how much further I had to go still, it is 200 feet. So it would use more than what we have on hand. And I'd much rather, because I think the aesthetic of this actually looks really quite nice, to like look out of our living room window and stuff and see the fence line and everything. I think it actually looks quite nice, and it'll be a very good trellis because it is a very thick gauge wire. So I texted Tracy because she's at work, to see what her thoughts were on just continuing with this exact same fencing instead of, switching it right here, right in the front yard essentially, and then switching to something else, which we wouldn't have enough of anyways. But she's totally down for us continuing on with this same exact type of fencing, so that way it looks really nice, and it doesn't look like a hodgepodge thrown together type of situation. Plus, you can get like the big farm roll, the 330 feet roll of that at Tractor Supply, or local Tractor Supply. It's only like $250. So I mean, that's a lot better than the non-climbing fence that we use for the goats, because that's usually about $100 or a little bit more than that for 100 feet of it. So it is a better price, and it also, like I said, it'll look really nice. And we want to be able to try to grow some stuff here along the perimeter as well. I just got to figure out what I want to grow along this perimeter. I was thinking about doing Arctic kiwi. I really like kiwis, and I know that they are somewhat shade tolerant, but I don't know if they can handle the acidity of the soil here, in this particular spot of our yard, because there are all these pine trees. They drop pine needles, which creates a highly acidic soil. So I have to do research on that. So if somebody's already done that research and could let me know if the Arctic kiwis can grow, the cold hardy kiwis can grow in acidic soil, please let me know in the comment section to save me some time and energy. But so I ran out. Well, I didn't completely run out of T-posts either. I have 2 left, after putting in all of these T-posts that are over here. It is a very long line of T-posts. But so I repurposed some of the ones that we've found here. So it does go from, these ones with red on top and dark green on the bottom, to ones that are just completely rusted, without any sort of paint on them. I have like 4 or 5 of them, and then I go back to the green with the white tops on them. So originally, I gotta trim some of these pines. They are kind of low, but originally I had wanted the fencing to stop over here, and then we would go right across, right before the trash pile there, and hit that T-post that's right there. But as I was doing it, I thought that it would probably actually be nicer if I did it out a little bit further to go to the goat's fence, that corner post right there. I think that would create a nicer flow. But it's kind of weird, because like it looks like these pines are actually all planted like straight and seamlessly, but they're not. So I don't even think I could show you guys properly. But so I'm holding the camera straight, and the pines are all at an angle, so it makes it very difficult to tell exactly where the property line is, because like a few of these pines are on our property, a few of them are not on the property. So it's kind of this weird wonkiness of like bobbing and weaving between pine trees, and I don't really want to do that. I think that it'd be nicer if I just come from like this post here and jet straight across to the pasture area there. And then that way the chickens and stuff, because they really like scratching around in the ginormous trash pile that's back here, they really enjoy scratching around and dust bathing in it. That way if they fly over, then they have a safe area that they are like enclosed in somewhat, and they can, dust bathe and scratch around. This fencing, we still have not decided yet if we are going to make it so that way the entire yard area of our property is fenced in or not. That is something that is definitely dependent upon like when I run through and see how many feet of fencing it is and how many more T-posts we're going to need. It is definitely a budget type of thing, because fencing and T-posts are very expensive. We've bought a lot of fencing and T-posts since we moved here. And like the T-posts, they're about $5 a piece or more. So when you got to buy, like 100 of them, that's a lot. So I did actually measure from the barn, the corner of the barn, to the house, and that's, I think it was 140 feet. So that's quite a lot of fencing, quite a lot of T-posts. So like I said, I don't know for sure if we're going to do that plan or not. It would be nice though to just kind of like from this corner where I was just standing at to, over by the driveway there, to then fence that in. So then that way, this whole area here, then the turkeys could safely be in that area. We wouldn't have to worry about anything really happening to them. We haven't had any issues with coyotes or wild dogs or, anybody else's dogs getting any of our critters yet. But there is a very large coyote population out here, and we hear them all of the time. So I figure it's probably only just a matter of time before something happens. Plus, too, I think the aesthetic of having, the area that's more farming type of stuff to have it like sort of fenced in, because then all the chickens and stuff, they can free range more. And then, like I said in the previous video, we don't have to worry about the turkeys then getting too close to the road, getting hurt. But then also, because there have been times that we've lost track of a goat, like where they've snuck out the door and stuff as we're bringing things in and out, then we don't have to worry so much about them getting hurt or them getting themselves in trouble or anything. It's Turkey Lurkey. He'll probably just keep following me around. But yeah, it is very nice for us to be able to have the animals free ranging around and stuff, because for one, they do end up feeding themselves quite a lot of food. The ground is so wet here. Can you hear it? It's like really gross. But so it is really nice for us to be able to have the animals free range, because it does cost less in feeding them, but also it will help greatly with the tick problem that is here. This land here has tons and tons and tons of ticks, and it also has a massive amount of slugs. So we are really grateful that the birds all like to free range and that they're good at it, and also that they apparently really like to eat ticks. Because we have noticed that since the turkeys have been out and about throughout the last few months, that the tick population has gone down. Like, had I waited, or had I not waited, and I had taken care of all that dry grass and the really tall grass and stuff, like a couple months ago, I probably would have been covered head to toe in ticks, but I only actually have had one tick on me this entire time. Just a couple months ago, when I went up into the woods to try to go hunting, I ended up having 40-something ticks crawling on my pants. So, I mean, the ticks out here are really bad, but I'm going to end this here because it's actually getting pretty chilly, and I should probably go start a fire in the wood burner so that way we're not cold tonight. But so if you guys are enjoying this content, please give this video a thumbs up, share it with your friends on social media, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to help us grow. We'd greatly appreciate it. All right, thanks for watching. Have a good one, guys.